Typically, whenever I do work for Under Armour, it's event based. They came to me a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they had something different. They wanted me to create more of like a campaign style video, which I was really excited about. I could curate it, I could do pre-production, I could make it what I wanted it to be. Initially, whenever they came to me, they mentioned it was a partnership with UA Next and a company called Joy. We wanted to highlight family. Every time you see these players on any kind of stage, you're highlighting them just as a player. But we have the opportunity to highlight how they became the player they are, and not only that, but who made them the player that they are. I already posted the videos on my page, so go ahead, watch them, come back if you would prefer that. These videos were going to be 90 seconds. The deliverables that we had was one 90-second hero piece and then 3 cut downs that would be anywhere from like 15 to 45 seconds, depending on the story. So to begin, I came in whenever it was in the pre-production phase. I had pretty much all the creative freedom in the world, but the thematic things were told to me. We wanted to highlight family, like I mentioned. So there are 3 notes that we were trying to hit. 1, moments of joy. 2, bringing families together. And 3, making parenting easier. This piece was going to be told from the lens of the parent. In both cases, it was the mom. This is the most influential person probably in their lives that is going to talk about them and talk about their family dynamic. First step was getting connected with the player. In this case, there is a recruiting person from Under Armour who has relationships with these players and with their families. They curated a list of a few players. We ended up going with Madison Quest, a volleyball player out of Wisconsin, and Solomon Thomas, a football player out of Florida. For both of them, the pre-production workflow was very, very similar. I always try and make the process as human as it possibly can be. So what we did is we hopped on like an hour call. This is where I'm asking very general questions, still keeping those 3 themes in mind that I mentioned before, but I am also trying to ask them to just talk about themselves. During those interviews, I recorded a voice memo on my phone, just recording the entire call. That isn't going to go anywhere. It was just for me. I took that then into Premiere, transcribed it so the whole interview would turn into a text file, put that into ChatGPT, and then I had ChatGPT take notes for me. So ChatGPT just gave me a list of all the different points that we hit throughout the call. And then I asked it to give me all of the different questions that I asked throughout the call. So I then could see all of the different stories that were told, all the different topics that we went through, and build my story out from there. This is only a 90-second story for the hero piece. This is not a long video that is going to be a documentary feature length, so I have to keep things pretty simple, and I have to structure it with topics. What topics make sense to flow into one another? A lesson that I've learned time and time again, and I find myself still not always gravitating towards doing it because sometimes it's not the easiest thing in the world. But whenever you have to interview somebody and you're going to have a whole shoot day with them, try your best to do the interview at the end of the day after you built some rapport with them. So even with this shoot, I learned from what I didn't necessarily love. First shoot was with Madison in Wisconsin. The structure of that day was interview mom, go to Madison's practice, film the family dinner at their house, and then interview Madison. If I could redo it, I probably would have had the mom interview at the end of the day because I could get to know her a little bit, talk to her, build that rapport. Yes, the initial video call builds rapport, but whenever you're in person, nothing compares to that. You can't really expect to make that much of a connection with them then. So I changed it up whenever I went to Solomon's house. The structure of that day was I met them at a training session where Solomon would be comfortable with this trainer. The camera is there. Yes, that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm just following him, starting to build that rapport, talk to him, get to know him. Then we went to PT. At PT, shot a little bit, but I'm more so having conversations with him. Asking him about just life, and that's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to film that really. It's just talking to him to get to know him as a human. Storytelling comes down to a human connection. Stories are better whenever it's a human story. Family connection, It's very human that can reach a broad audience. We then went to Solomon's football practice, and then I interviewed him and his mom at their house at the end of the night. So what I came up with as an idea is I wanted to hammer down on nostalgia. Nostalgia is easily created whenever you have a warm color grade and old photos. Old photos were something that I was really relying on their families to give me. Funny enough, one of the moms actually just gave me access to her Facebook and told me I have free reign because she's posted a ton on Facebook, which was just a straight up gold mine of photos and videos and photos of them, videos of him at Boy Scouts and all that. That was a way that I could take this over the top. How do you tell a story about a kid whenever they are younger while showing modern footage? It's hard to do, so the old photos really helped. One of the things that helped me throughout this entire process was the pre-production. I'm not really accustomed to doing pre-production. I am oftentimes, like I said, just showing up and figuring it out as it goes, but I made a deck for this to really wrap my head and communicate with the client what I was thinking. I was going on nostalgia. I was showing the look that it was going to be, the story points and examples that those story points could be. Yes, they're going to change for the specific athlete's story, but still connecting the dots in my mind so I was clear what I wanted whenever I showed up on site, and also being able to communicate with the client so they feel like they are in the loop the entire time. It makes your life a lot easier whenever things don't run according to plan when you're on site, so you at least have a fallback of what you're looking for. And that brings me to the lessons that I learned. Lesson number 1, pre-production is most of the time a good thing. It might feel like you're doing way too much and it's overkill and you don't have to go as crazy as you are, but it helps a ton. Lesson number 2, building rapport is so important. Be a normal person. There's so much downtime in these shoots. There's so many conversations whenever the camera isn't on. Don't think that you're going to show up with a camera and they are going to be very, very comfortable. When it comes down to documentary filmmaking, you want to make a connection because, like I mentioned, great connections equals great storytelling. Lesson number 3, big budgets don't mean it's going to be easier. Yes, if there's more money and you end up spending more time, then you'll be okay with it because you feel like you're being compensated accordingly, but it still doesn't get rid of the work that has to be done. I quoted them for the amount of time that I thought I was going to spend on it, and that I felt comfortably that I didn't have to take many more jobs that month. If I was committing to the shoot that I was excited about, I wanted to make sure that I gave it the due diligence and gave myself enough time to work on it. And then lesson number 4, another one that I improved time and time again, but if you shoot a video today, don't put it off and put it off and put it off. The footage is just going to become less and less familiar to you, which means that the edit is going to become more and more challenging for you to accomplish. So just get it done right after you actually film it. Maybe you'll have to push a little bit, but don't let it sit on your hard drive for too long. So yes, that's how I created this collaboration with Under Armour and Joy. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. And if you want to learn more about the in-depth things of how I budgeted for this job or how I edited everything and actually accomplished everything, I'd be more than happy to make a video all about that. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next video. Subscribe if you're not already. Goodbye.